Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 393 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by my good friend, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, my man?
Oh, I'm doing good, Joe. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. It was my birthday yesterday. You didn't text me, but that went well as well. I know you'll be interested to know.
You know what? I'm like, my fault, man. I'm so like absent-minded. You know what I mean? I gotta say happy belated birthday, Joe. One of my closest friends. We gotta do something, man. We gotta do something about this. So, yeah. I hope you had a great one, man. Really do.
Yeah. It was a really good day actually. I won't go too deep into it because obviously this is a boxing podcast and not a vlog. But I actually did like this interactive Squid Games thing, which was crazy to go and play like Squid Games in real life. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Eddie. That's a Netflix sensation, which is it's a crazy thing. If you don't know what it is, we don't have enough time to explain it. But to go and play that in person was unbelievable. So had a really good day. Anyway, getting back onto the boxing, like I said, let's dive straight into the review part of the show. We're going to start here at the G2A Arena in Poland. Over here we saw that in the main event, Lucas Rozanski. He was 14-0 with 13 KOs. He stepped in with Alan the Savage Babic, who was 11-0 with 10 KOs. He was never going to go the distance. It was one of those situations where you could bet your house on it. There's no way in the world it's going 12 rounds. I think it was for some kind of bridgerweight title, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, Rozanski, I thought he'd probably knock Babic out, and he did. He did so in the very first round, so unbelievable. He just completely steamrolled Babic, He caught Babic with a few good shots, jumped on him, didn't let him off the hook, and got him out of there. Babic was down early in the round. There was a long way to go, got back up, and the referee ended up jumping in. Babic was obviously quite annoyed that the fight was stopped, and you know what? They've been building him up. It's a strange one, really, because they've been building him up this whole time. He's been like must-watch TV, knocking people out. Always puts on a show for Eddie Hearn, and it's all kind of amounted to him being on the road. Fair enough, it was on Sky, but being on the road in Poland, I don't know if it was for a Bridgerweight world title, but if it wasn't, it just seems like such a strange end to the hype train, because the hype train will end there. I think he still can provide us some entertaining and exciting nights, but they were building towards something, and I just thought whatever it's going to be something bigger than that. He got in there with a guy who casual boxing fans are not going to know who Lucas Rozanski is. So for it all to kind of end there, that's a huge blemish. There's no point really seeing a rematch. I don't think we like to see rematches in boxing when someone gets knocked out in the first round. So it was never going to go the distance. I picked Rozanski, and he got the job done very early. And for Babic, I'm not sure what happens next. He's kind of tapped into that UK scene, obviously, boxing over here. There's still some really good domestic fights for him. Maybe the Dave Allen fight now is a fight that can be made. Do you know what? I think I've made that fight, in my head already. I bet you we see Dave Allen fight Babic at some point. I reckon that's a fight we're going to see. On the undercard, we saw Martin Bacoli as well rack up a win. It was his 20th pro fight. He's now 19-1, a TKO for him in round 3 against the previously undefeated 10-0 with 8 KOs, Ihor Shevazutski, who's now 10-1. That's it for that one. Moving now to the Cardiff International Arena in Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. This one was on DAZN. Let's start with the undercard. Friend of the show, Sky Nicholson with another win. She's now 7-0, a points win there over 8-2s against Linda Laura Lecker, who's now 15-7 with 2 draws. Sky Nicholson, like I say, 7-0, still yet to get a knockout. Sandy Ryan on the card as well, went the distance. This, I tell you what, I had a really good week of betting on boxing, actually, because every single thing I picked pretty much came in. Sky Nicholson points, Sandy Ryan points. Sandy Ryan is now the new WBO World Welterweight Champion. She was able to win on points, like I say, unanimously over 10-2s against Mary Hall, who was undefeated, 8-0, now 8-1 with a draw. Sandy Ryan now 6-1. The world's her oyster, really, now. She looked really good, actually. I think Sandy Ryan has really, I don't know whether to say improved or got smarter. I guess that's really kind of both the same thing. But when we saw her take that sole defeat early on, obviously in her pro journey, she come back and avenged the loss in really smart fashion. She seemed to come back in that rematch really matured almost overnight, boxed to a really smart game plan. Clifton Mitchell in the corner, of course, with her, and ever since then, really, she's just seemed a much better fighter, a much more cleverer fighter, much smarter, much more matured. And like I say, I don't know if it's like she's improved, or maybe we just saw a bad night when she took her first loss and she kind of has gone back to what she knows best, which is smart boxing. And we saw it again. She's now world champion. She adds to the list of current British world champions, male and female. Elsewhere on the card, Jordan Thompson again. This is something I called the Jordan Thompson KO. He managed to get it in round 6 against friend of the show, Luke the Duke Watkins, now 16-3. It was quite a good fight, actually, really exciting, especially early on. Jordan Thompson, I think, had a good first round. Luke Watkins, though, was coming back with big hooks himself. And yeah, he caused a few problems there to Jordan Thompson, but yeah, Luke Watkins, I don't know, kind of just, I don't know if he ran out of steam or what, but yeah, very quickly, I think in rounds about 4, 5, and 6, Thompson just seemed to be able to land the damaging shots, and Watkins seemed to slow a bit, and yeah, down twice in that 6th round. It was for the IBF European Cruiserweight title. Thompson now 15-0, still undefeated. Zelfa Barrett now 29-2, a very positive return to the ring for him after losing last time out to Rakimov. He was back with a win, a unanimous win there over 12 rounds. Again, I expected Zelfa to win that on points against the very tough Jason Sanchez of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Never been stopped, still hasn't been stopped. He went 12 rounds there on short notice. He was down, though, in round 5, but managed to survive the distance, now 16-4 over 12 rounds. Like I say, Zelfa Barrett at times looked like he was going to get the stoppage, but Sanchez was tough, man. He certainly earned his paycheck, as they say. And moving up the card again, Gavin Gwynn. This one was one I didn't see coming. I'm going to definitely say that one. Gavin Gwynn with the TKO in round 5. In that rematch against Craig Woodruff, who last time out, they couldn't split the pair. It was a draw. And it was a really evenly fought contest in that fight there. Both guys had a chance here to kind of right the wrong. And Gavin Gwynn was always the favourite, you know, in both fights. And was a massive favourite once again for this fight. And I just couldn't understand it. I felt like the bookmakers obviously didn't want to put any respect on Craig Woodruff's name, if you like. And it seemed like they maybe knew something that I didn't know, because Woodruff was extremely disappointing, you know. Barely was letting shots go. He was just letting Gavin Gwynn tee off on him, really. And kept going back to the ropes. It was a really weird strategy, you know. He almost fought like a puncher who wanted to counter off the ropes at times, but he wasn't countering. He was just sitting there doing barely anything. So Gavin Gwynn did really well, actually, to force a stoppage in round 5. He's now 16-2 with a draw. And yeah, he moves on. It was for the British lightweight title. All the best to him. Craig Woodruff now 12-7 with a draw. And the main event, Shavkat Rakhimov now 17-1 with a draw. He served up his first career defeat. He loses his IBF World Super-Featherweight title to the Welsh Mr. Joe Cordina, now 16-0. New champion of the world, a split decision over 12 rounds. Joe Cordina now a 2-time IBF World Super Featherweight champion. Rakhimov down in round 2 from a left hand and cut over the right eye in round 6. His eye was actually a real mess, and they did a tremendous job in the corner of keeping him in the fight. I think Freddie Roach was in that corner. Not sure who the cut man was with Rakhimov, but just before the fight started, I thought to myself, I think Rakhimov could do this, you know. I just had this feeling Rakhimov might do it. But I did say on last week's show, and I'm very glad I did say it, I said this is a fight where I could see many things happening. I can see Rakhimov winning on points, which very much almost came close. It was a split decision. I said that I could see Cordina winning on points as probably the most likely outcome, and I could see Rakhimov getting the stoppage. And Rakhimov, by the way, did hurt Joe Cordina badly early on when Cordina walked into a shot. Rakhimov is as tough as they come, and I felt was massively underrated as well. I've seen a bunch of his fights. He's a really, really good fighter, and definitely now without a title, the number 1 member of the Who Needs Him club. Why on earth would you want to put your fighter in with him? Because he's going to give you a hard night's work, and that is what he gave Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina, though, answered a hell of a lot of questions, man, and I was really impressed. You know, he can fight, he can box, he can take a good shot, he can come back. There's so much in his arsenal. And also, coming off his hand injury as well, which was quite severe, I believe, he did really, really well. You'd have never thought that he was coming off a hand injury, fought like it didn't bother him at all. I think he had an operation or two, and his coach in the corner, obviously, Tony Sims, said that's, he's in the best shape of his life in terms of his hand. It was the best it has ever been since they've started working together. So that was encouraging to hear, but I didn't know how true it was. But yeah, Joe Cordina, really, really impressive. Like I say, put Rakhimov down. Rakhimov, very tough customer, kept coming. I didn't see Joe Cordina winning by knockout. That was the only thing I ruled out. So I can understand it was my prediction was kind of all over the place. And, I picked 3 of the 4 or 5 possible outcomes if you consider a draw being one of the outcomes as well. And, obviously I managed to get one of them right. But yeah, I mean, good competitive fight. I think Cordina was a clear winner really on my card. Not that I was scoring it, but I don't think Rakhimov deserved 6 rounds or 5 rounds even. It was probably more like a 8-4 type of fight. Few close rounds probably in there though. And the right man won at the end of the day. That's all that matters. But yeah, very, very good display as well from Rakhimov. Joe Cordina, what a fighter. Really, really happy for him as well. Doing massive things as well for Welsh boxing, which seems to just never die. Even if there's a few years without a Welsh world champion and you're kind of looking around thinking, who's going to be the next superstar from Wales? One of them just comes out of nowhere and becomes world champion, So they're doing massive, massive things for such a small place. So yeah, Joey Cordina, 16-0, 2-time undefeated IBF World Super Featherweight Champion of the world. So that is excellent stuff for him. All the best to him. Moving out now, though, to the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, USA. Over here, friend of the show, Tremaine Mighty Midget Williams. I did say he needs to be very mighty to win his fight here against Elijah Pierce, who was 16-2 with about 14 KOs. Elijah Pierce did end up winning unanimously. So I thought if he's going to trouble Tremaine Williams, then it's probably going to be by stoppage. He's obviously heavy-handed. I didn't actually see the fight, but Elijah Pierce with the upset victory there, unanimous decision as well. He's now 17-2. Tremaine Williams now 20-2. It was for the vacant WBC Silver Super Bantamweight title. And now moving to the big one, Eddie. I'm going to come to you pretty much straight away here. It took place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Yeah, let's just go straight to the main event, eh? Gervonta Tank Davies, 29-0. Another knockout win for him. Ryan Garcia, 23-1. Garcia down in round 2. Brilliant shot as well that put him down in round 2. Got back up, obviously, and then get stopped in round 7 when he decided to take a knee off that body shot, which didn't look like much on the replay. But anyway, forget about my thoughts on it. What is your expert opinion on this fight, Eddie?
Man, first off, I only got a chance to see the main event because I was struggling with the zone. It had me cursing up a storm, had me so angry because I didn't sign out of it on my other my other television. I had on my home television. I was actually at my father-in-law's house watching. So I get there in time. We're about to turn it on and everything, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't coming on. So that happened. I had to go back home, sign out of it, which is only about 10 or so minutes away. Then come back and actually get it on. But by the time we did see it, we started to watch it with the Tank fight. Thank God, at least we were able to see that. First impressions on it, it went exactly as I expected. Well, no, not quite exactly. I thought that possibly Tank would be behind on the cards a little. You know what I mean? As the fight, was progressing, I was figuring he would get him out mid to late, which is what I said, and it was for the reason that it actually happened. Well, let's say the initial knockdown came from exactly what I explained. And Ryan Garcia is extremely, talented dude. He can box, but he has, there's a good bit of flaws that he has with his game. The lateral movement is not one of his strong suits. He tends to go a little crazy. I don't know if I've seen it in other fights, but definitely in this fight, when he saw an opportunity where he thought that he was getting an advantage. And he also, stands pretty straight up. Not as much in this fight. He was a little better with that in this fight, but he still was high up in the air with his head looking over top of each punch he was throwing. And I said that would be his downfall at some point in the fight. I figured it would be late. I figured he might be up on the cards because of his range and, his height and range and his speed. But it just turned out that Tank's IQ was just way too high for that. And he started a little bit faster, but I think it was because Ryan came in so fast too. So he kind of forced his hand. But I really, really like Tank's IQ in this fight. I think he proved that. I'm pretty sure that he's a pretty talented, pretty smart, high IQ fighter. But this really sealed it. Really showed. It's funny. You can see him setting up the overhand left. You know what I mean? Going under his shots, letting Ryan get overly, excited with activity, trying to throw big shots, trying to hurt him, and just, sink down under his shot a little bit. Probably he was holding a little bit, kind of moving, getting him to walk into a shot. And sure enough, boom, caught him right over the top with that shot. And that was what I thought was going to end up ending it later on in the fight. I thought he would, like I say, maybe get overzealous or maybe even be a little desperate because as the fight was progressing, it was looking like, Tank was obviously taking control. Like I said, he showed the great IQ. He started to box. He started actually his speed, which we all knew he was already fast, but he really showed an extra wrinkle in that speed, even than Ryan, in this fight. And I think a lot of it had to do with technique and IQ and just understanding what punches to throw in what situations. But, yeah, he showed his class, 100%. And as far as the stoppage, it was just kind of I didn't even see the shot until the replay. And I know it's kind of like hard to say, I don't think it was too much of a real shot that would really put somebody down, and a lot of people would just say Ryan quit. The shot was in the middle of him throwing a punch too, which can be you gotta take in consideration that you're tightening up, you're trying to land a shot yourself. It's just like when they say you get into a car accident. If you fall asleep or if you're asleep and you don't wake up during it, you might not be injured as much because your body's relaxed. Well, in this situation, he was tensed up throwing the shot, so maybe that was the same kind of situation, and maybe that's why it had such an effect on him. But I do think he could have gotten up. I think he could have. I know he was in pain. I know it was, but I do think he could have gotten up. But I think that he was thinking, well, fight's not going so well right now. I just got dropped. I just felt this body shot. Maybe he catches me with that same kind of shot that I got caught with in the second round again. And maybe I'm out cold. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is all going through his mind, or just the worry of getting hurt. You know what I mean? He's a young guy.
That indicates that you think he's quit though, Eddie, right?
I mean, yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? He just said, look, this hurts. Why get up and continue when I'm probably pretty much going to lose? And I don't want to say he quit, just like flat out quit. But, maybe he just said, I'm going to let I'm going to let him count me out, and I'll stand up right after. Because that's what happened. You see how many times that happens with other guys. They're literally looking at the ref in the face. They're counting. They're counting. You can get up. You know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't. But how come as soon as he said 10, he got up? I don't know how. I don't know how that you could explain that. But regardless, he tried his best up to this point. You know what I mean? Like I said, he got a lot of things he can work on. He's still a good fighter. Still has talent. He still has speed and power. These are all things that he can build off of. He can come back a lot better. The Tank is, like I said before, this fight and any of the other fights that will be made, he's probably the scariest one of them all. Even though I really like Shakur, I just don't think any of them, outside of Shakur because of his defensive ability, will be able to really stand there with Tank, for the full rounds. I think it's going to be an extremely tall order for anybody to beat him up to this point. I just really do.
Yeah, it was a really exciting fight while it lasted. Obviously there was a lot of hype, and we're hearing astronomical pay-per-view numbers as well being reported. So yeah, it certainly captured the imagination of a lot of people. I think the gate did really, really well. And yeah, like I said, the pay-per-view buys, from what I'm seeing, it just seems unbelievable. But yeah, no, really exciting fight. I think everyone was a little bit worried if it's perhaps not going to be as exciting as we want it to be, or we've heard it's going to be. There was obviously a lot of trash talk and stuff like that, which I think was really good from both guys, the way they were selling the fight. Round one, I think obviously Garcia, made quite a positive start to that first round there. Round two as well. I liked what he was doing. I think he was getting the better of it, obviously, but then Gervonta threw that power shot that put him down. Walked right into it. I don't think it hurt him too much. He pretty much got straight back up. He seemed fine. But yeah, I think that was the first power shot as well that Gervonta threw the first 5 minutes of that fight, and that first shot put him down. So it was kind of like a big slap in the face, if you like. And then from that point onwards, I think for rounds 3, 4, and 5 and 6, yeah, and then the stoppage, obviously, like I say, in round 7, I think Gervonta was pretty much in control, really. I think Ryan was in the fight. I don't think he took tons and tons of punishment and stuff like that, but yeah, it was competitive. I think he was still in the fight, but Gervonta was firmly in control as well, which, like you say, Eddie, probably surprised a few people that Ryan didn't have a little bit more success. I think from being knocked down, he was a bit maybe second guessing himself at times, but then at times he would let his hands go and do well. But anyways, great win for Gervonta. The knockdown in round 2 was really just a superb shot, and yeah, it looked like a heavy shot, but obviously Ryan took it well, got straight back up, didn't really seem hurt. And then that body shot, it's hard to tell with body shots because you don't know, when someone's throwing a shot, when someone's breathing in, when someone's breathing out, if they get you in that sweet spot just underneath the elbow while you're reaching. There's so many factors that can go into it, and sometimes when we see a replay, you can't really tell the impact, the impact or the placement. You're just not too sure, you'd have to take that shot to know for sure. Yeah, I don't really want to jump on the quitting train or anything like that. I'm just going to say it was... I'm not too sure, but yeah, it was a really good fight. Gervonta definitely proved he's a better man. Let's move down the undercard. We normally start with the undercard, but we started with the main event there, so let me move down before I forget. David Morrell, again, I expected him to knock out Yamaguchi Falcao. I thought he'd probably stop him at some point, but yeah, he managed to do it very early, the very first round. Falcao down twice, a defense there for David for his WBA World Super Middleweight title, now 9-0. He did say that he wants I think the Benavidez fight it was, which again would be an unbelievable fight. Hopefully we see it. Elsewhere on the undercard as well, Elijah Garcia now 15-0, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Kevin Zambrano, now 15-2 with a draw. That one was for the WBC Latino and WBA Intercontinental Middleweight titles. Salgado deducted a point in round 7 for a low blow, and Lorenzo Truck Simpson now 13-0, a unanimous decision for him over 6 rounds against Pacino Hill, who's now 8-2 with a draw. And I've left it till last because I'm doing this on purpose. We're about to wrap up the review part of the show, and I do want to say, I said it last week, Bektemir Melakuziev, Bek the Bully, now 12-1, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Gabe Rosado, now 26-17 with a draw. I told everyone that listened to last week's show to back this. I said it's worth it. I said Melakuziev to win on points was 5-1, and obviously Rosado to win by knockout like he did in the first fight was 12-1. And I told a lot of my friends, jump on that price there, 5-1 for Melakuziev to win on points. I think he was going to be extremely cautious because he got knocked out in the first fight for getting, too overconfident. And that is what happens. So 5 times your money plus your stake back there. I feel like I'm giving a lot of the listeners to this podcast a nice little income if you're actually backing what I'm advising in the week. But yeah, it was for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Super Middleweight title. Bektemir Melakuziev with the win unanimously over 10. Gabe Rosado still hasn't been stopped since he lost to David Lemieux back in 2014. Trying to get to 10 years if he carries on. Melakuziev, people were saying he didn't really look like a bully. Bek the Bully didn't really look like a bully. I hate to say it, but I called it, and a lot of people were shocked, and I was there just laughing to myself. Like, I could see what was going to happen, and boy, oh boy, did it get aced. 5-1. Enjoy if anyone jumped on it. And that wraps up the review part of the show. The final thing for me to do in this part is to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Super-Featherweight world title challenger. He's my favourite Namibian. It is, of course, Mr. Jeremiah Nakathila. Jeremiah, welcome back on the show, my brother.
Yes, sir.
How are you? You okay?
No, I'm doing fine, man.
Excellent, brother, excellent. So, Jeremiah, we last spoke back in March 2022, so just over a year ago. When we last spoke, you just beaten Miguel Berchelt. What has been the reason for the inactivity since that win, Jeremiah?
I'm a boxer, and I don't really organize fights or make fights for myself. So I can only blame it to my promoter for taking this whole time. I cannot really say what exactly why I couldn't fight after that fight, but my promoter knows better.
Okay, I understand that. And obviously in that time you haven't been fighting. You have still been obviously running the pub, the low-key pub. How's things going with that?
Low-key pub is one of the famous pubs in the capital city of Namibia, here in Windhoek. When you have the fans, it's always good to have a place like where your fans can come support you or can chill, because they want to show you support. They want to, But low-key pub is a place to be. It's nice. It's very productive for me.
Yeah, if I ever come to Namibia, I'm gonna go to the low-key pub for sure. Your next fight, Jeremiah, has been announced. You'll be boxing on the Haney Lomachenko undercard against Raymond Muratalla, May 20th in Las Vegas. Tell me, Jeremiah, what do you know about Muratalla?
I don't know much about him. It was the first time I read about him when he called or mentioned my name that he want to fight me earlier. So that's where I get to know him. After that, when they announced that I'm going to fight him, I check on YouTube his videos. Yeah, I'm not impressed. Looking at myself, my ability, my boxing, I'm not impressed. I'm gonna beat him.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous fight for Muratalla. I think Muratalla is a good fighter. Obviously, Top Rank are very confident in him, but he hasn't boxed at the level you have boxed at. And also, he was knocked down in the first round in his last fight against a fighter who is not very good.
Yeah, if you can get knocked out by a less power puncher like that guy, how will you handle my power?
Exactly.
How you see?
Yeah, I understand. I agree. If you beat Muratalla, Jeremiah, what fight would you want next?
Yeah, looking at the lightweight, it's a very competitive weight now. And I feel I'm one of the best, and I'll be looking forward to fight the best in the lightweight division. In that card, we have Henny Romacheko fighting, so I can say I want the winner.
And who do you think the winner will be?
I feel David Henny gonna win the fight.
Okay, Devin Haney.
I feel David Henny gonna beat Romacheko.
Okay. And obviously, Shakur Stevenson has now moved to lightweight. Do you think he will win a world title at lightweight as well?
Yeah, Shakur himself is it's a very good boxer. So he has the ability to be a champion at lightweight. I cannot doubt him. Looking at most of the guys now, I know all the bets are with Henny, but after this fight, I think Henny might move up or something like that. But obvious, Shakur it's one of the best boxers of this era.
Yeah, definitely. And did you watch the Gervonta Davis-Ryan Garcia fight, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I did watch that fight.
What did you think?
There was a time I almost scheduled to fight Raymond Garcia, and I wanted that fight. So I watched that fight, and it's Gervonta make a big statement beating Raymond Garcia.
Yeah, it was a good fight. And Jeremiah, I wanted to ask, are you still working as a policeman or not anymore?
Yeah, I'm still working as a policeman here in my country.
Ah. Okay, so what do you do on a normal day when you wake up? What do you do? Do you go to the low-key pub and work there, or do you go to a police job? What do you do on a normal day?
I do police. I work at the police, and I'm an investigator at our police here force. I'm one of the investigators. We investigate cases and actually money laundering. I'm under the money laundering division.
Wow. Okay. So
if you launder the money, if you steal the money, we look at it. How do you get it? How did you misplace this money? All those things. So wow. I'm an investigator at that department.
So Jeremiah, how many days a week do you do police work?
Monday to Friday. However, when I'm preparing for a fight like now, I don't go to work. I'm given off like a month or two. It just depends on how many days I need. But when there's a fight, no police work, no low-key pub. It's just in a camp.
Okay. Now I understand. Okay, brilliant. And just finally, Jeremiah, my last question for you. How does this fight go with yourself and Muratalla on May 20th? Do you win on points or do you win by knockout?
I want to stop him. I want to knock him out. So I'll do all my intention to knock him out. And I know I got the power to do it.
And I believe you. Like you say, if his last opponent can knock him down in the first round, if you hit him with that same shot, he doesn't get up. He doesn't get to round 2. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
But listen, Jeremiah, just before we let you go, if you have any final message to everyone that's listening to this interview, do you have a final message before we say goodbye?
Yeah, my final message is that thank you to everybody who follow up on me, who always catching up whenever I have a fight or, my lifestyle. I'm low key. I keep it low key. I'm Raymond Nakathila, and shout out to all the boxing fans worldwide. It's the world is a small country now. The world, because it's small now. We communicate easy with our social media, and so for me, yeah, I just shout out to all the boxing fans in the world.
There we go. Shout out to all the boxing fans in the world. That has been Jeremiah Nakathila, policeman, boxer, and pub owner. Listen, Jeremiah, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Good luck on May 20th in Las Vegas, and we will speak after the fight.
Thank you, man. We'll speak again.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with this one. Breaking news. Chris Eubank Jr. steps back in with Liam Smith. So the rematch is going to take place Manchester again at the AO Arena. June the 17th is the date for it. Interesting to see both guys opened up at the joint favourite in the bookies. So basically, the bookies can't split them again, despite the way that Liam Smith won the first fight. On the undercard, it's going to be the co-main event. It's going to be Savannah Marshall returning to the ring for the first time since losing to obviously Clarissa Shields. So yeah, she returns to the ring for the first time since. She's currently 12-1. She moves back up to super middleweight, actually. She gets in with... In fact, I'm sure she was at super middleweight before, or am I making that up? Not entirely sure. I think she was. But anyway, she gets in there with Franchon Cruz Dazern, who is the undisputed super middleweight world champion. So again, that's for the IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO world super middleweight titles. Franchon Cruz Dazern, 8-1. And obviously that one loss came to Clarissa Shields on points on her pro debut. Since then, she's gone on to become the undisputed champion at super middle. So a good fighter, and a good fight as well. Obviously, if Savannah Marshall can win, then she probably sets up that Clarissa Shields rematch if that is what she wants. Though I don't really see much of a point in it. I don't think it was very competitive. But yeah, good move for her. It's tough when you lose a super fight like that, and it really was a super fight, Shields and Marshall. Where does the loser go from there? It's always tough. And even sometimes, where does the winner go? And, we're going to see Clarissa obviously get back in with one of her former opponents. And, they're selling it because that former opponent knocked her down. I think it was Hannah Gabriel's. She knocked her down, so they're selling this rematch because, wow, she knocked her down. She didn't win, but she knocked her down. It's like, there's not many places to go, and I think they're struggling as well to sell that narrative. But here we go, and all the best, of course, to Savannah and Peter Fury in the corner. And yeah, the other piece of news is that Matchroom have announced a card. It's going to be going down in London at the Wembley Arena, and the date is June the 10th. We're going to see Sonny Edwards in his first fight with Matchroom. He makes his 4th defense of his IBF World Flyweight title against a man from Chile called Andres Campos. I don't know too much about him. I'd have to have a little look at him. Also on the card, we're going to see Nina Hughes defend her WBA bantamweight world title against Shannon Courtney. That could be quite interesting there. Shannon Courtney as well just seems so inactive, but gets in with Nina Hughes. That's a tough old test there. And finally as well, we see the rescheduled date for Shanika Johnson and Ellie Scottney. Obviously it's not taking place on the Taylor Cameron undercard in Dublin, so we're going to see that one, and that's for the IBF Super Bantamweight world title there. So yeah, some good fights on that card. And also I should mention as well, Johnny Fisher gets out, Shannon Ryan gets out as well, friend of the show. Yusuf Kamari takes on Reece Bellotti as well. That could be quite interesting there. That's an eliminator for the British Super-Featherweight title. Chev Clark as well gets out as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. It should be a decent card. Again, the date for that is June the 10th. It's going to be live on DAZN. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here with this one. It goes down in France tomorrow. And I'm going to just mention the main event. That's probably the only one worth mentioning. It's at the Laval in Mayenne in France, probably saying that wrong, but we've got Jordy Wise. He's 30-0. I think he's only got about 3 or 4 knockouts, but it's for the vacant EBU European welterweight title against the Spanish John Miguez, who is 17-0. So somebody's else must go there. Good fight for the EBU welterweight title. I'm guessing David Avanesian must have vacated, because I'm not sure what happened with that. But yeah, both guys undefeated, 47-0 combined records there going down in France. This one, though, takes place also in France on Saturday. It's just one to mention. It goes down at the Salle Gaillard in France, Eddie. I'm not too good with the French pronunciation. It's not as good as the Spanish, but you can have that as well for free. Return to the ring.
That was nice, Joe.
The return to the ring for former world champion Nordine Ubali. He's 17-1. We haven't seen him since he got banged out by Nonito Donaire 2 years ago. He gets in with Ricardo Martinez, who's 9-9. It's very much a soft, easy touch to come back for him. And now we're moving to Thailand. And I'm not going to do a Thai accent, Eddie, because quite simply no one's special enough to hear it. But this one goes down at the Tupatemi Air Force Stadium in Pathum Thani. Over here we've got Wisaksu Wangek, aka Sarisaket Saw Rungvisai, and on this show he's known as the Rodent Eater. I always go back to that picture that I have somewhere saved on my phone from years ago of him smiling with a rat about the size of his head and a big piece of his sides missing and a mouth full. And a very happy fighter, Wisaksu Wangek. He's 51-6 with a draw. He gets in with Komgrich Nantapech, who is 31-6. It's not really a fight I've mentioned, but I just like talking about Wangek, and I like spreading the awareness of the fact that he does eat some really, really, quite horrific things. And yeah, this one goes down, by the way, at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. If I could teleport, I'd want to be there, because we're going to see a really good women's fight topping the card. It's friend of the show Melissa Odessa Parker, 6-0 in an 8 minute round contest against Sharetta Metcalf, who is 11-4 with a draw. Sharetta Metcalf, I think, got a little bit of a following perhaps on social media. I know she's tweeted Eddie Hearn wants a big opportunity. Obviously racked up a bunch of losses. I don't think she's got the prettiest record, but she sort of says like, yeah, I can fight. I've got a personality. I'm good looking. She's kind of set herself up for having all the goodies that you need to be a successful female fighter. But anyway, her opportunity has come here against Melissa Odessa Parker. It's going to be a tough fight there for Metcalf, because Parker is a very good fighter who I think will become a world champion very, very, very soon. So yeah, all the best to Melissa Odessa Parker, friend of the show. And the final card to mention, we've really flown through this preview part. It goes down at the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas, USA. It's going to be live on DAZN. Oscar De La Hoya, the promoter, on the undercard of this card here. We're going to see Diego De La Hoya, the cousin of Oscar. He's 24-1. He gets in there with Victor Morales, who's undefeated, 17-0 with a draw. It's for the WBA Intercontinental Featherweight title. It's over 10 rounds. Also on the card, we're going to see David Stevens, 12-0 in a 6-rounder at super middleweight against Marco Antonio Paraban, who's 26-6 with a draw. Very, very inactive these days, Paraban. Obviously not the fighter he once was. You know, it's been years since I think he's had a real fight. So David Stevens pretty much digging him up from the dead here to try and take his scalp. And the main event, William Zepeda, 27-0. I think he had about 15 KOs in a row or something at one point, but his last 2 fights have gone the distance. I think he beat Jojo Diaz in, I think, the first one, and the second one I've completely forgot who he boxed. I can't remember now. I'm going to have to check. Yeah. Joseph Jojo Diaz was actually his last fight. The fight before that went the distance was Rene Alvarado. But anyway, here he gets in with Jaime Arboleda, who's 19-2. The only thing that kind of stands out to me here is that Arboleda has been stopped in both of his losses. So yeah, I think at some point William Zepeda will get through, and those heavy hands, even though, you know, he's gone the distance in his last 2 fights, and he was a wrecking machine at one point before that. You know, in the last few years, he was just walking through everyone. I think we're going to see him, you know, return with heavy hands. But Arboleda can punch as well, so it could be interesting while it lasts. Arboleda is with Samson Lukowicz as well. He doesn't really, you know, take care of fighters that aren't very good, you know, and yeah, Arboleda, he's got a couple of decent names on the record, but he did get stopped in round 11 by Chris Colbert, which I don't think looks very good. If you're getting stopped by him, then William Zepeda should be able to stop you. So I'd probably say a William Zepeda stoppage probably in the first half, so the first 6 rounds of that fight. But we shall see. It'll probably be interesting while it lasts. I do like watching William Zepeda. But anyway, that brings the preview part to a close. So that is pretty much it. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, we did the news part, and we've just wrapped up the preview part. The final thing for me to do before we log out completely is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 393 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge shout out to this week's special guest, the lightweight contender and policeman and owner of one of the finest pubs in Namibia, that man being Mr. Jeremiah Nakathila. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in to this week's podcast. That's about everything from myself, though. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.